everybody. Today I'm giving you my review of the latest X-Men movie called X-Men Apocalypse. This is directed by Bryan Singer, and I was really excited about this film. It was actually the superhero movie I was the most excited about this year because I really have loved most of the X-Men movies. Even Last Stand, I think there are pieces of it that work and that I like, but I think it is a failure in the end. But X-Men Origins Wolverine is horrible, but the ones that they've gotten right have gotten really right, and all of the Bryan Singer X-Men movies have been really good, and it has such a good cast, and I loved X-Men Days of Future Past. I thought it was so good. It's one that gets better every time I see it. I saw the Rogue Cut, and I love the Rogue Cut even more. This was actually probably my third most anticipated film of 2016. I was so looking forward to it, and so it is with heavy heart that I report I really didn't like this movie. Some people are giving it a pass and saying, oh, it was okay and whatever, but I'm sorry, I did not like it. I thought it was a bad film, and let me try to explain kind of the reasons why. Okay, let's start with what makes, I think, a good X-Men movie and why I think they're special. The thing that makes X-Men better, I think, than most other superhero franchises is that they actually have something to say about the way that we treat minorities and the way that we treat people that are different, and there's just sort of an inherent metaphor in the story as opposed to just bad guys fighting good guys, which is also entertaining. I don't have a problem with that, but to me it's just a little bit richer, or it should be. But the problem is the X-Men Apocalypse, it really kind of forgets that. Aside from the Magneto storyline, pretty much everything else is bad guys fighting good guys. And it's because they have like the ultimate bad guy who is all powerful. And so it just sort of gets to that because of necessity, because you have this character of Apocalypse. And so that's part of the problem. Another reason why I love the X-Men movies is because it has such strong female characters. And you have Rogue and Mystique, and even Storm, I think, has her moments in some of the films. She's one of the weaker ones. But you have Jean Grey, who is so good in all the movies except for Last Stand. And, you know, you just have these really good female characters, and like none of the other franchises even come close, in my opinion. And you have Black Widow, and Wonder Woman we just got in Batman v Superman. But here you have a number of them, and they're good, and they're interesting, and they have layers, and and they've had pretty good performances, maybe except for Halle Berry. And so I love that about this franchise. Well, unfortunately in X-Men Apocalypse, they're all underused. And you could say that about the whole cast of X-Men Apocalypse. And one of the things that made Days of Future Past work so well is that, yes, it is very cluttered, even more so than Apocalypse. But it had a very clear goal and mission. They had a specific thing that they were going to do. Wolverine was going to convince Mystique to change her mind. And that's it. So it's very simple, actually, even though it has all of these players coming in and out. You never had any problems with the story because it had this clear focus. Well, the problem is with this is that there is no clear focus. And so you get like 10 minutes of Magneto, and that part's actually really good. And then you have like 10 minutes of Charles, and then it zooms back and you're with Mystique for a little while, and then you're with Scott for a little while, and then you're with Jean for a little while, and none of these characters feel developed. None of them feel there's not a satisfactory sort of plot on any of them except for maybe Magneto, but not really, because it's just kind of the same story that we've seen him go through now so many times, where he's, you know, struggled and he's bitter, and this horrible thing happens to him, and you're just like, he's already been through the Holocaust. Like, how many more horrible things can you have happen to a person? You know, like at a certain point, like he's not going to change anymore. And so it starts to feel a little bit inauthentic. That's like, we've seen this character go through this now so many times. And they even throw in, it's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, they even throw in Wolverine for a few seconds, and you've got Quicksilver for a few seconds, and you've got, and just none of them feel satisfactory. None of them feel like, it's so frustrating. And, you know, you've got Storm and you've got Cyclops, and she's lame. Like, she's only in it for a little bit, and so it's just feels fractured and frustrating, and there's no momentum, nothing means anything. And then you have the problem with Apocalypse, who is just right out of the Power Rangers. I'm sorry, he was not a good villain at all. Like, I'm normally not one who complains about villains, but at least with like Ultron in Avengers Age of Ultron, you had a character that was created by Tony, and so we had sort of enough of kind of a backstory to him in a way, and there was sort of this conflict within Tony, and so there was enough to kind of get me through it. Whereas this, you just have this, you know, this cheesy creation from the pyramids, and they throw in all this biblical language just to sound epic, but to me it was just annoying, and it was really self-important, and it was the kind of thing to make it like sound like it was big and justify these big things, but because I didn't care about the character at all, I didn't care about any of these things happening. And you knew at the end that somehow it was going to be somehow it's going to save the day, and somehow Magneto's going to, you know, see the right, because it's the X-Men movie, and that's what happens. And so there was, you know, no tension, no stakes. It was just kind of like loud and annoying, and I didn't like it. I was really, really frustrated by it. I thought that all the actors were trying, and so if you're gonna say it's better than Last Stand, it is better in that regard. The acting is way better, but I think the core story in Last Stand is better as far as the demutants, and should you make yourself not a mutant, and like, you know, what's that, like, that's actually way better than any story that we're presented with here. And, you know, you have moments like Quicksilver gets a music kind of moment like he did in Days of Future Past, but we already saw it in Days of Future Past, so it was kind of like, eh. And I don't know, I was so disappointed. I did not think it was good. I mean, I feel like people are giving this way too big of a pass because I don't know, I guess they like seeing things explode more than I, but this is the kind of movie that made me hate superhero movies for a long time. And then I finally saw I saw the Avengers, and Avengers kind of won me back to superhero movies because it actually had characters that were gathering over something that mattered to them with Agent Coulson's death, and you had seen kind of these individual characters and their personalities, and you had the charisma and everything, and it all kind of culminating on this big battle. Whereas this, it feels like Apocalypse is a character that can literally touch somebody and they turn to sand. He is like so powerful. So like it makes the battle feel kind of ridiculous when you know that he could turn all these people to sand in like a minute. And so it just feels like, why isn't he turning them into sand? What is going on? And he's just very like, we will destroy everything, and it reminded me of Transformers. Like, that's honestly, I did not like this movie if it was reminding me of Transformers. Like, in just a sense of just sort of the destroying everything the way Transformers do, and everything in sort of that gravitas, I'm gonna be really important, I'm Ultra, I'm Megatron, and like you have in the Transformers movies. And it just felt like with Apocalypse, there was no sort of plan on how to defeat Apocalypse. There was no sort of sense of what he really even was. It was just like, well, we're gonna try this for a few minutes, and then we're gonna try this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Let's try something else. Let's try something else. Oh, this person gets taken away. Then this person gets taken away, and then another, and then another, and then, you know, somehow in the end, we're all gonna make it work. And I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I gave it a D+. I think it sucked. And I'm really disappointed because it, like I said, was one of my most anticipated of the year. And, you know, I maybe you think I'm being too harsh, but I just got to be honest. Like, that was how I really felt. So, yeah, I'm really bummed about X-Men Apocalypse. But if you liked it, I know a lot of people did, so put it in the comment section below if you liked it. And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!